Alrighty, y'all. Hello, and welcome back to a map episode. These are some of my favorites, actually. We just don't do these enough, so it's been a while. Let's do one. All right, so we're going to be taking a look at maps of Europe for the most part, and then at the end, we'll have some bonus maps of various topics and or countries. Starting it out with one that has always been near and dear to me, road quality. This is a road quality score, quality of road infrastructure throughout European countries. As you can see, more towards green or dark green would be better, white or gray in the middle, and then, of course, the kind of vanilla color towards the worst side of things. And to no surprise, even as an American, I can see that the highest score is indeed the Netherlands. The roads there just seem, well, incredible. And as someone who has been around a horrible infrastructure most of my life, when I see that, it makes me want to hop out a plane really quick. I yearn for somewhere with great roads and great infrastructure because I live in a state where we pay some of the highest road taxes in the country, and yet our roads still suck. So yeah, naturally, I respect the fact that some governments actually take tax money and use it rather than pocket all my money. Much respect to the Netherlands for this. Also, quick shout outs to Austria, Switzerland, even Portugal over here. All above 6, which is towards the top of the scale here. So really good roads. Now, I don't know what's going on in Eastern Europe, a little bit lower. I mean, the trend is pretty obvious that the scores go a lot lower. I don't know if you want to weigh in on this, if this is a little bit harsh or if it's pretty accurate. I do almost wonder what this map would look like in the US as well. Maybe like a 1.5. This checks out from my experience. France and Netherlands are noticeably better quality than Belgium and Italy. And isn't it kind of funny? I mean, it's not the worst deal in the world. It's just kind of funny how that ends up working. I mean, those countries are all relatively, next to each other. You can kind of see that Belgium and Italy have much lower scores than France or Austria or even Germany, right? Decimal separators in Europe. Now, this one is actually very telling. And then let me explain why. I have seen this before. Americans get confused by this a lot, because you can see the examples down here, right? Do you write 1,000 like 1,000, or do you write 1,001.000? Naturally, as an American, I see 1.000 and I'm like, why don't they just write 1.0? Right? In reality, they're writing 1,000, and that just breaks my brain thinking about it. What I find interesting is it looks like almost like 95% of Europe does use the comma. I'm going to have you guys weigh in on this to make sure that this is accurate. Curiously, Switzerland uses both. I wonder how that works. That's kind of interesting. Also, is this like a micro country? Is that Liechtenstein or Luxembourg? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on which one this is, but they look like they use both as well. But the British Isles are using 1.00, so they're using the decimal, even for numbers like 1,000. Sorry, you guys are weird for that. Now, of course, it works for you guys, and that's fine. That's all that matters. But clearly, I feel a little bit better that I seem to be in the majority here. 1,000. I feel like it just makes more sense. But yeah, I'll be honest. I thought it was more like more countries used this. So I thought it was going to be more, I guess, a half and half map, but it's not. European countries with no mountains. I didn't even know there was this many. I mean, clearly most countries in Europe do have mountains, right? I think of Europe as pretty hilly and mountainous in most areas, and clearly it is. Quite a few countries that don't have any technical mountains. I'm wondering if they at least have some hills. So you guys will have to let me know about that. It looks like we have Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Belarus, and Moldova with no mountains. Is that true about Moldova? I thought Romania was really mountainous, and this is right there, close by. I can't believe that there's no mountains in this region. And then somewhere as big as Belarus, too, right? Like, wow. Then, of course, Denmark and Netherlands. I kind of knew about Netherlands. I've always heard that it's pretty flat, pretty, like, smooth terrain, you could say. There's no Alps running through there. So I guess that one's not too much of a surprise. Denmark, I guess that's not a surprise either. Denmark's very coastal, as you can see. And I guess there's just no, I suppose there's probably got to be a few hills, right? But yeah, I will be completely honest. The Baltics, right? I always get the Balkans and Baltics messed up. I think these are the Baltics up here. Not mountainous at all. The confusing world of international sport in the British and Irish Isles. How do y'all keep track of this? Look at all these different What is even happening? Clearly, I find sports in other countries fascinating, but man, if I'm trying to learn British and Irish sports, looks like I got my work cut out for me. If y'all are watching people from different countries try to learn about your sports, yeah, you guys can't be mad when we don't know what's going on. Come on. Perceived levels of corruption in Europe. This is hilarious. This is from 2025. Again, we see a little bit of a trend. The least corruption going on kind of right in the middle here, right up top as well. But yeah, kind of to no surprise, it's more corrupt over here in these parts. And a little bit down here as well. And just a tad down here in the Iberian Peninsula. Oh, how I wonder where the U.S. would rank when it comes to these numbers. I would almost bet my bottom dollar we'd be in the red. Last time European countries had a birth rate above replacement level. This is a pretty growing trend around the world, right? That population levels are falling, right? And we're not, in a birth rate that can still keep up and charge ahead rather than fall behind. It's pretty bizarre, honestly. I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons for it, and of course in different regions as well. But as you look in Europe here, other than a couple countries that have been recent, the last time these countries had a surplus of population was a long time ago. 50 years ago. How much of the Alps each country controls percentage of the overall area? Wow, so Italy has a lot. Austria controls a lot as well. And then, of course, France, a little more. France is mountainous, especially when you consider the Alps. They control maybe a little more than I would have even thought. Switzerland being slightly lower, but of course, it's not as big of a country. I love how Monaco is on here with their 0.001%. They're 1,000th of a percent. You go, Monaco. I'm doing my part. It ain't much, but it's honest work. Now, this one's interesting. This is, what do Europeans feel most attached to? And this one's kind of interesting for me to see because it's the inverse of what I usually hear on this channel over the years, right? Everyone kind of brings up Americans and how some Americans are extremely patriotic and think they're the best and blah, blah, blah. And I've spoke out against that very much. I'm someone who does love my country, and I think it's okay to be slightly patriotic, but also be real and be critical of your own country as well. Y'all know I'm very much am. Typically, the sentiment is that I hear is that Europeans are nowhere near as, enthralled in their country and patriotic like Americans are. But this map helps at least explain a little bit of how each country feels. So you can see the overall map, right? The blue would be their attachment to their country, and then the gold or yellow would be the region in the country, right? So some people are more prideful in just their region, right? Like, for example, Northern Italians, Southeastern Germans, the northern parts of Spain, you get the picture. And I think that's kind of fun to see, right? Otherwise, some people have general enthusiasm just for their country. And then if people had a enthusiasm for all of Europe, that would be red. But you can see on this big map, there's basically no red. So Budapest being the only place with some European as a whole kind of pride. And then on the maps on the bottom, it does rank, where everyone sits on their attachment to their region, attachment to the country, and attachment to Europe. And of course, the darker the color, the more of an attachment they have to that exact topic. I'm American, so I don't know much about how Europeans feel, on a day-to-day level and about the world, topics. But I will have to say it is a little bit, I wouldn't say shocking, that's too strong of a word, but it's a little bit interesting to me how the attachment to Europe is a little less than I would have thought, right? Dark red would be like really strong, right? I wouldn't expect that really, but almost all of Europe is kind of in a lighter red, which I find a little bit interesting, a little less than I would have thought. Here we have a tectonic map of Europe, and I think this is kind of cool to look at, although I would be lying if I said to you that I know what I'm looking at. I know tectonic plates and stuff and, shifts and earthquakes. I know that much, but beyond that, I don't know anything. So maybe this map is more interesting to someone who's qualified. Because I'm assuming this kind of map isn't, seen every day by a lot of people. I've, for one, never seen a tectonic map of Europe at all. So, yeah, that's why I showed it. Then we have marriage age for women in Switzerland in 1874. Now, I don't really show this to pick on Switzerland here. I more show it, this isn't necessarily a country-specific topic, but more a revealing the difference in societies in 1874 versus now. Now, on the whole grand scale of time, 1874 is recent, right? It's not that long ago. But it feels long ago when you see how different things were, right? So this is in Switzerland, but this was kind of the same in a lot of countries, I feel like, including the U.S. You know, look at these marriage ages, right? Minimum marriage age was 12 in a lot of different provinces in Switzerland. If not 12, it was 15 or 16 in most of the rest of it. And I think that is just crazy, right? I mean, not crazy. I mean, it was a different time, but it's just crazy to think how different it is nowadays. You know, now there's like tons of data showing that a lot of people, you know, get married later and later. You know, I was married in my mid-20s, but I know many people in real life around my age that still aren't married in their 30s, or people a little older than me that aren't married in their late 30s. And I do think that is rather fascinating to see such a shift in that, you know, 150 years about. Let's just say the obvious, though. Yeah, I'm glad this is different. I'm glad this is different. This, you know, had to change in a short time. Now to some bonus maps, some world maps, that type of thing. We have countries with tornadoes, according to Wikipedia. The USA has nearly 75% of the world's tornadoes. That is actually fascinating, right? I mean, you know, we try not to be America-centric here because that's kind of a meme, right? Like U.S. defaultism, but this one truly is. Like, look at all this. You have the whole world. Honestly, how on earth, out of all these land masses, how are 75% of the world's tornadoes in this country? In the country I live in? How unlucky is that, man? What the hell? I want a refund. About roughly 1,500 to 2,000 tornadoes occur worldwide each year. So, yeah, that means about, if it's 1,500, you know, tornadoes occur, that means about, 11 or 1,200 of them happen here in the U.S. Lucky me. We're number one. Yay, we're number one in something truly. What a great stat. This is fascinating for Australia. This is a number of cities with a population of 100,000 or more in each state. So yeah, these are like your medium to big size cities. All of them are basically in Victoria and New South Wales. I mean, you have a couple in Queensland, but you know, it's kind of crazy how it's all concentrated really down here, right? I mean, look at 0 in the Northern Territory. I will actually say the biggest part of this that I find more shocking is that there are more cities over 100,000 in WA than South Australia. I actually find that more fascinating. Also, 0 in Tasmania. I thought there was at least one. I thought Hobart might have been over 100,000, but I guess I haven't checked my numbers lately. There's 0 in Tasmania. This is a scary map. This is Mexico. Way too close for comfort. Yeah, absolute chaos happening right there. That is frightening as can be. Not a fun map. These are usually fun maps. This is not a fun map at all. What the hell is going on with the world? Scary, scary stuff. And finally, what do you call people from each U.S. state? So an example, I'm in Illinois, so I'm an Illinoisan. Fun fact, I lived in New Mexico, and I had a New Mexico driver's license. And you see it's AN, right? So those both fall under the green color here. Means they end at AN. So when I lived there, I was a New Mexican. Yeah, it's a little bit funny, right? But it was true. Some states end in ITE, so like Wyoming or Wisconsin nearby, they are Wisconsinites. That's what they're called. Then you have Indiana next door. They're not Indianans, they're Hoosiers. What the hell is that? Then a lot of them end in my name. I know, Ian's a great name. A lot of states have to end in my name. I get it. Hey, it's a beautiful name. Floridian, Kentuckian, you get the picture. I thought this was kind of funny. And that's going to be it. That is some really good maps, honestly, this episode. We haven't done one of these in way too long, but I thought we found some really, really entertaining maps and informative ones as well. And I hope you agreed. I appreciate you being here. I hope you had fun. And I hope to see you in the next one. That's going to be it for this one. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. Catch you later.